Roughly 25 years ago now, my dad introduced me to meditation. He had came to his own spiritual awakening about 6 years prior, and he had eventually become a meditation teacher himself. He was under the guidance of a local master, and I ended up coming under his guidance as well. All throughout that time, our house was littered with spiritual books and books on meditation. So it's something that I've been surrounded by my entire life. So in today's video, I'm going to share with you my best tips for beginners and people getting into meditation, things to know, things to avoid. First thing I wanted to share with you is stop trying to understand everything. This is really hard because as human beings, and I think especially now with information so readily available, we can all fall into this tendency of like, I need to know everything, I need to understand it. But meditation is different. Meditation is going beyond thinking, and it's paradoxical. It doesn't make sense. Meditation itself does not make sense. The more you try, the more you push depth away from you. If you're too passive, you don't allow experiences in. So it's this fine balance between effort and non-effort. Working but not working too hard. Focusing but not focusing too hard. It doesn't make sense. It's this kind of middle path between all of the extremes. In Zen, there's this thing called a Zen koan, which typically a Zen master would have given to a Zen student. And they would basically give them a statement that makes no logical sense. So an example of this is, why is a mouse when it's spinning? Why is a mouse when it's spinning? To our human mind, that makes no sense whatsoever. And what this does is it turns the student into knots, basically. The student would be trying to understand it. Oh, is their tail too heavy? Or was the wind blowing in a certain direction? And they will get to a point with it where they realize they can't answer that. It's beyond the human mind to be able to answer it in a way that makes logical sense. And what would normally happen is that the student would go away for several months, come back to the master and say, oh, the tail was too heavy, or the wind was blowing in a certain direction. And the master would say, no, come back to me when you've got the answer. A few more months would go by, and this would happen over and over again. What would eventually happen is that the student would come back and do something ridiculous. He'd have like a shoe on his head and he'd say lemons are black or something like that. And what he would demonstrate by doing that is that he had gone beyond thinking, that he was now understanding, he or she were of the understanding that the mind can become a limiter, and that we actually have to give up thinking. At some point we have to give up that trying in order to enable another form of realization to take place. Meditation is very much the same. Having worked with hundreds and hundreds of people now all around the world, I've noticed that many people, and I say this about others, I've done the same, we all try to understand the experiences we're having. We all try to understand where we're at. We all try to make sense of, why is someone that I know who's only just come to meditation having way more experiences, why am I not noticing anything? Is that right? Is it not right? We end up getting in our own way. And so my first bit of advice is stop trying to understand everything. The experiences you're having will only make sense. They'll only make the sense that you give them. Many people will say, oh, I had this vision. What does it mean? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what it means. Just you had the vision. It was either a distraction from the ego. It was either the mind actually trying to distract you, or it was a genuine spiritual vision. You don't know what it means. It doesn't matter what it means. It happened. Now move on. Otherwise you get so tied up in, oh, what was the meaning? What should I do from here? You then create your own limit by reaching that experience. But what you need to do is let go of it and carry on and progress. You have to reach this point where you don't care. You're just going forward. You're just moving forward. You don't need to understand everything. So the second point is mentorship. As I said, my dad was a teacher. I came under the guidance of obviously him, but then his teacher and a few other people who were in our close circle. So I have always had people to bounce my experiences off, to ask questions. When something's happened to me, I've said, well, why has this happened to me? What should I do with this? And even if that is, as I just mentioned, let it go, don't do anything with it, move forward. That in itself, that guidance in itself is so valuable. And because of the fact that meditation is so confusing to the human mind, even if you've got someone that is telling you to let go of whatever it is that you're trying to understand, that in itself is mentorship that you need. That is guidance that you need. And when I get to point 3, this will also make sense, but we are our own barrier in a sense. There are many parts of us that get in the way of us actually progressing, and sometimes we need someone external to us to point that out and say, that thing there actually you need to let go of, or that thing there is actually getting in your way. So there is a shortcut when it comes to spiritual growth and growth in meditation, and that shortcut is mentorship. You can save years and years and years of struggle by finding someone who has been through that journey themselves and seeking that advice and that knowledge that they've got from their own journey. I'm not trying to plug my own teachings. There's hundreds of teachers all around the world. If you do enjoy my teachings, I do have a school, the link's in the description, but mentorship generally, whether you get that through books, whether it's through YouTube videos, whether you find a local teacher who you really resonate with, it doesn't matter who it is necessarily, as long as you feel within your own self that they're the right person for you, mentorship will save you years and years of trouble. The main sticking point with meditation is within ourselves. People will reach a point where fear overwhelms them, or anxiety overwhelms them, confusion overwhelms them. And what you will come to learn, if you're not aware of it already, is that within us, we have a part of us that does not want us to do things that are beneficial. And this is obvious when you look at healthy eating habits, when you look at exercise. Same goes for meditation, even more so with meditation. There's a part of us which I call the ego, generally people will call the ego, and that is the false self. That is the part of you that is happy with you thinking that you're the mind and body. It's happy that you don't understand what your true nature is. Now, because meditation is a vehicle, it's a tool that enables you to experience more and more of who you really are beyond the mind and body. This ego part of us knows that. And so it presents many obstacles in our path when we're meditating, things like fear. All of these, it might be jealousy, it might be anger, it might be frustration, impatience. All of that comes from the very part of us that we're trying to overcome. So it will present all of these different distractions and hurdles in our path to stop us actually doing the practice. Now, the reason that I'm telling you this is because the more you know that, the more that makes sense to you and the more you understand that, the easier it is for you to see it and then overcome it and actually make great progress when it comes to your spiritual journey and meditation. So my advice to you is look out for all of these negative emotions, these negative attributes that we all have, jealousy, anger, frustration, all the things that I've mentioned. And when you're experiencing them, especially in meditation, notice them and understand that that's coming from the part of you that is trying to stop you doing it now. So the more you can become aware of it and then say, okay, I understand that that's coming from my ego. I'm going to do it in despite of this. I'm going to see that as actually a signal for me to actually do the practice now. And the fact that I can notice it and act in spite of it, that in itself is growth. That in itself is you taking control of yourself and doing something that the ego does not want you to do. So these are things that every spiritual seeker, every meditator should know, and I really hope they help you in your journey. If you're interested in getting more spiritual guidance and help with your meditation practice, I'll leave a link in the description below to my online school. It's called the Inner Journey School. But failing that, I'll see you on the next video. Thanks a lot.